Welcome everyone. It's the top of the hour, so let us get started. Today's AKR forum will be led by Barry Beck. First of all, let me give a couple of opening comments. Hello, I'm Maria Peterson, President of the American Kyudo Renmei. We've been running an AKR forum for about 2+ years, started during pandemic to give everybody a way to continue to gather and learn something about Kyudo. So we've got 3 more talks on the AKR forum agenda, and if others are interested to present something, please get in touch. Otherwise, we're going to let the forum have a natural end at the end of the year. So after Barry's presentation next month, we will have a presentation by Jade Frondhofer about his experiences of opening dojos and Renmei. He's the former head of the South African Kyudo Renmei. And then in October, we will have Michael Kennedy, and he's going to give a presentation on I think the American perspective of Kyudo manners, similar to a previous presentation that was given on the Japanese perspective. So with no further ado, let me introduce Barry Beck. Barry Beck is a Nidan, right?
Yes.
With the Minnesota Kyudo Renmei. Barry is also a member of the Ogasawara America organization. And Barry first found Kyudo through Shihan-mato, and he's going to explain what is Shihan-mato. Barry, take it away.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me and essentially saying yes when I asked if I would be allowed to present. So thank you very much, Maria Sensei. So Shihan-mato Kyudo. I'm not sure if anyone out there has heard of Shihan-mato or has done any Shihan-mato on their own while in Japan. It is done with, hankyu, which is generally a half bow, but it's really more about a 3/4 size of bow that has a lot of history. It does date back to the late Muromachi period. So there's a lot of similarities, but there's also many differences. And essentially that is what we're going to kind of look at here with the overall question is, what exactly is Shihan-mato Kyudo? And is it really Kyudo? So start off with, presentations. Always interesting to have a disclaimer to start it off, but I do not consider myself an expert on Shihan-mato Kyudo. It is something that I've been doing for just over 2 years now. Actually, probably 3, closer to 3 years now since I've had an interest and actually had the equipment. And that is kind of the key, just like Kyudo or any sport, you do have to have the equipment. And it is not actually that easy to find that equipment. I actually had to have a couple of people line up in order for me to get my hands on the equipment here. So anyway, it is something that I do primarily just for fun, just for some shooting. I have it down when Kyudo gets too particular. Kind of what I mean by that is, there's certainly lots of ways that Kyudo is supposed to be done. There's always a way to do it. Whereas Shihan-mato, as we'll see as we go along here, is very, very loose, and it really is just hit the target. There's not a lot of rules, regulations, anything like that. So it can be something to just work on, just some shooting and target acquisition and aiming and things like that. I find it very good. And like I said, I do feel that it has helped my Kyudo in at least a in a couple of ways. And many people have helped me along the way. Everyone I think here is probably familiar with Jess Garrity on YouTube and her channel and blog about Japanese culture and Kyudo and archery in general. So she'll make an appearance through some videos in this presentation. Really, if you're interested in Shihan-mato, the best person or YouTuber that I have found goes by the name of Typhoon 1941. They have probably the most videos out there on Shihan-mato that I will be referencing as well later on in this video. Aaron Blackwell Sensei definitely helped me as well. Several years ago, he had an article in the South Carolina Kyudo Renmei Journal that I asked him if I could get a copy of when I first got interested in Shihan-mato, and he sent it off to me, and I was able to get more of the history and kind of how it goes in Japan at Shihan-mato Dojo. And my sensei, Carly Bourne Sensei, for supporting me and doing some translation work that I had done over this, and just, getting me in touch and making sure that I could get this all set up. And then another person, a friend, Jeremy Mock, who is a fellow member of the Minnesota Kyudo Renmei, who took some of the photos on here. He took a lot of photos. Unfortunately, I'm only using a few of them because of, well, I just decided that I'd rather show actual videos of people that have done it for much longer than myself here. So Maria kind of got into it a little bit as far as what started my Kyudo journey. Well, approximately, 10 years ago, I was just doing Western archery, but I had a background in Japanese martial arts through Aikido and Kendo and Iaido and things like that. Sometimes I've said that the Yumi was the only weapon that I hadn't really tried yet, so I thought I'd give it a shot. So what you're seeing on the screen right now is actually the object that started my Kyudo journey. So what started my Kyudo journey? This is really what started my Kyudo journey.
I'm sorry, you're still on the first slide.
Oh, I am? I've got it on a different one here.
It's advanced to several slides in for me. I might suggest if the slides are not advancing for you, try to rejoin the event. Sorry about that. Seems to be working for everyone else, right?
Yeah, here's here's disclaimer, and then here's the photos.
Okay, please proceed. If somebody's having trouble viewing it, you'll have to listen to the recording later, but go ahead, Barry.
All right, so this is a Hankyu that I found. I also am a collector of Japanese swords and other types of weaponry. So this was a Hankyu that I stumbled across, I believe, on eBay of all places. And it's a rather unique piece, I thought. You can't really see it in the pictures. Well, maybe a little bit. There's all sorts of crests or mon on the hazu at the ends of the bow. And it is kind of a unique piece. At the time, I didn't really think that it was unique at all, but since I've got into Kyudo, talked to certain individuals, including Don Szymanski, who is a Yumi maker in Colorado, and I've shared pictures with him, and he's not exactly sure what this is either. It is a Hankyu based on the size, but we have no idea how it would be used because those bone knocks would probably cut your suru. upon release, and it actually has quite a bit of power to it. This is it here, and if I try to flex it, it barely gives it all. His original thought was that it could have been like a shrine bow or something like that, but it wouldn't have any draw weight at all. But this is really what got me started in Kyudo. Is, well, I've got this, I might as well figure out what I do with it. And at the time, I had known that the Minnesota Kyudo Renmei was around from previous searches online. But at that time, they were only doing practices down in Northfield, which would be about an hour drive for me. And my work schedule, I was working until 6, 7 o'clock at night, which was when practice would start. So I never, never went around or got through to it. Then later on, when I found this bow, I got in touch with them again, and now we have practices up in the Twin Cities Metro, very convenient to my house, and that's when I started in Kyudo 9 years ago now. Pretty much 9 years in just a couple of weeks would be my anniversary with the Minnesota Kyudo Renmei. So that is what started it. A brief history of Shihan-mato. This predominantly came from, like I said, Blackwell Sensei's article. It originated approximately 450 years ago, so late Muromachi, from the domain of the Shimazu clan in Miyazaki Prefecture. The story goes is that the Shimazu lord wanted to increase his defense capabilities, so he allowed the peasantry to practice archery. But when, you arm people who may not exactly agree with you at all the times, in order to not revolt or anything, in order to prevent them from launching a coup or a revolution or rebellion, they had to practice in a seated position, in seiza predominantly. The bows, therefore, were quite small and did not have a lot of draw weight to them. Obi Castle in Nichinan in Kyushu is considered the home of Shihan-mato. If you were to Google Obi Castle, one of the main things that you would see would be all sorts of people doing Shihan-mato just as tourists. They still have regular, where you can show up and I assume pay a few yen and borrow some equipment and shoot some arrows and do Shihan-mato at Obi Castle. Over its more recent history, it has been associated with food and drink and good times. There was a time when one would receive a bottle of shochu at the beginning of a Shihan-mato tournament or taikai, for you to imbibe with while doing your Shihan-mato. So you could kind of think of it, it's almost, kind of similar more to like pub darts or anything like that, where it was, normally there was a great amount of alcohol consumed. There was a documentary done by NHK back in the 70s, literally translated as The Drinking Archers of Miyazaki, when it was about Shihan-mato. So what does Shihan-mato mean? Shihan literally translates to 4.5 in English. And all of the measurements used in Shihan-mato are 4.5 of something. So the distance to the target is 4.5 ken, which is an ancient kind of Japanese system of measurement that comes out to about 8.2 meters in reality. The standard size target is 4.5 sun, And if you look at the graphic there, you'll see the one on the left is your standard 36 centimeter Kyudo-mato. And far to the right is the standard 13.6 centimeter Shihan-mato targets. And then you'll see they also have smaller targets in tournaments that are used for tiebreakers. And we'll show that as we get farther along here. But because of the relatively short distance and the relatively weak bow, it's pretty easy to hit the target in reality. So there's ties there where no one has missed are fairly common, and then they'll go to these much smaller targets to finish the tournament, to name, you know, the top place getters. The bows and arrows were 4.5 shaku, which is about 136.4 centimeters in length. Modern Shihan-mato bows, though, are around 160 centimeters, with the arrows being slightly shorter, right around 153 centimeters. But still, that is 50% larger or longer than the arrows that I shoot for Kyudo. You would think with the longer bow, you would have the longer arrows when I have my Shihan-mato set next to my Kyudo set, but that is not the case. And the draw weight is around 4.5 kilograms. So we're really only talking about 10 pounds here. So it's very easy to draw the bow and to have, you know, fairly good technique and form. You're really not, you know, overbowed or anything like that where it would be too heavy for you. So here we are with the bow comparisons. Bow is much shorter, arrows are much longer. So to the left there is my Yonsun Takeyumi from actually Don Szymanski. It's a little bit longer than my carbon fiber Yonsun in reality. It's only probably a few centimeters, but if I strung them side by side, it would be, you would notice it being, you know, the bottom of the hazu is kind of where the top of it is on my carbon bow. And then in the middle, there are my normal 105 centimeter Kyudo arrows. And then to the right is the Shihan-mato setup with the arrows and the bow. And I have the arrows, you can't really see it in the picture, but they are at the exact same distance or length in as far as where my arrows are placed on the floor. Shihan-mato arrows, I have it right here, have a very much like a bullet, very long tapered point as well. And that isn't really showing up in that photo all that well, but there is quite a bit of taper, and they were exactly side by side. The bow is slightly forward, but as you can see, they're almost the same length. Only slightly shorter is the bow from the or bow is slightly longer. The other interesting thing, otherwise, they're pretty much, you know, up until now, you wouldn't there's anything different from this arrow, from a Kyudo arrow, until we get to here at the hazu, where it's a very wide hazu, very wide gap for the string to go in, and it has this little area to grip. What a lot of people do, these came this way from Koyama Kyudo, actually, is where I got it. And Koyama, on their webpage, right on the home page, they actually have a Shihan-mato tab to go to and to get equipment. So this is how they came, just this little gripper. What a lot of people end up doing in Japan is they'll get like a tennis grip or a like baseball bat wrapping type of grip that's got a little bit of tackiness to it. Then they'll cut it up into like little diamond sections and glue those onto the sides to get make it a little sticky, because you do it with this pinch draw. There isn't a glove or anything like that. And then the far right photo here is a picture of that same fiberglass hankyu on top, and then on the bottom is a bamboo shihan-kyu that I have as well from Sarmat archery out of the Ukraine, of all places. And it's a pretty good little bow as well. So that's kind of shows the size comparisons and differences there. Some other key differences: there is no uniform. Most practitioners wear casual Western clothing shooting Shihan-mato. A lot of times it's just done at, like a community center or gym in whatever city in Japan, and it's just standard, clothing. There isn't a uniform. Like I said, there is no kake or glove, and there is no torikake. It's just a pinch draw, just like you maybe did if you did Western archery when you were a little kid at summer camp to begin with. The other thing that's interesting is all the arrows are fletched in the same direction. When you buy a set of Shihan-mato arrows, first of all, you only get 5 instead of 6, like you do in Kyudo. And for mine, all of them are fletched like an otoya. So they would essentially spin counterclockwise or anti-clockwise when fired. So they don't alternate, it's not like I've got half that go one way or the other. Every single one of them, for my set anyway, is fletched like an otoya. I do not know if that is just by luck of the draw. If someone else was to buy a set of Shihan-mato, are they all going to be fletched like Haya? I don't know. I mean, the arrows are pretty much the same. They're used interchangeably between Shihan-mato arrows and Kyudo arrows, I am guessing. The other big thing is that you can shoot left-handed. There are left-handed bows available. I have seen photos of people shooting left-handed. I've never seen that live, but they are available, and you can shoot in a wheelchair as well. And because of the low draw weight, handicapped individuals, children, and the elderly have no problem drawing the bow, and there's very little concern for injury due to the low draw weight. You're not going to have some of the shoulder issues like a lot of Western archers get after years of bow hunting or target archery, trying to, pull 50, 60 pounds, even with like a compound bow. You really only need a bow and some arrows to do Shihan-mato. And the bow is strung in the opposite direction, bottom to top. So this is how stringing works. You can see that I have my right foot, the bow is at the bottom, kind of clipped in front of my ankle, and then my left leg is on the back of it, so the nigiri and grip is right behind my thigh there, and you just bend it in to put the loop over the top. So it's very similar to a Western archery step-in movement that you maybe did when you were in summer camp back as a kid in the 60s or 70s and things like that, which is when I was in summer camp as a kid. But that is how it is strung up there. And the scoring that is done is quite different. So This is showing a scorecard from a tournament for Shihan-mato. And you can see how they register the hits. There's 5 shots, which is why you get the 5 arrows. Although, well, when I get to the video, you'll see that you really only need 1 arrow because everybody shoots 1, and then the arrows are retrieved and given back to you. In Blackwell Sensei's article about Shihan-mato, he mentioned that one of the things he found odd was it seemed like people only owned 1 arrow, because that is just when they were in group forms or doing a competition, you just got your same arrow returned to you every time. So it's a different, even normal Japanese scoring as far as tally marks is different from this way. So you can see that we're actually kind of on the second, in the example of the scorecard, you can see we're kind of in the second row of the first group here, where they've already done the 5 arrows, and person 1 hit 4 shots, and 2 and 3 got all 5. Person 4 had only 4 as well. And then there are 2 arrows in the second group, and everyone has hit thus far, and they're about to mark the 3rd archer there as a hit as well. So it's a different type of scoring than what's even used normally in Japan. I assume that's just a historical nod to how it had been done in the past. There is a Shaho Hasetsu for Shihan-mato. I stumbled across this when doing research many years ago now. So the top there says the 8 points to remember in shooting. The second little line there, it says it's better to actually have formal training in shooting this and not to do it on your own. But, you know, if you're in the US, there's really anywhere outside of Japan, there is only one recognized Renmei of Shihan-mato, and that is in Melbourne, Australia. They're the only outside of Japan recognized and kind of official Renmei in Shihan-mato. So it's fairly similar. I mean, it's different because instead of ashibumi, we have seiza, but it is still, you know, the foundation of correct shooting. And then your dozokuri, where you focus on the tanden, relax your shoulders, straighten your spine, all the things your Kyudo sensei have been telling you. For the other steps, I didn't put any translation there because it's really all the same as your Kyudo. As far as, you know, hikiwake, draw even with both elbows, separate your elbows. But you will notice there isn't a kai per se. It is nurai, which means aim, because it's more of a Western draw where you anchor onto your face, as seen in the photo down there, in the illustration down there. It's very much a Western archery position that you're in, where you're bringing it right up to under your chin, and then zanshin. So that is what it overall kind of looks like here. So let's see how it is done. And like I said, this is Jess Garrity. She does both Kyudo and Shihan-mato. In fact, you know, I talked about how most of the time it is done in just normal kind of Western clothing, but here she is in her Kyudo uniform. And earlier in this video, the full video, I've just taken a clip here, is she was at Kyudo practice. I think this video is titled, you know, a typical Sunday or a typical Thursday for me, where she first goes to Kyudo practice, and then as soon as she's done there, goes to her Shihan-mato practice. So she has just showed up and taken her place on a cushion there on some tatami, and is about to get started here. So let's watch here. So you can see the enormously long whippy arrows. More or less a shaman type of uchiokoshi. And looks very much Western. You can see she's just, kind of chatting with people. It's a very casual kind of social environment here. Generally at practice, they shoot 2 arrows, and now everybody starts getting up to go down to retrieve their arrows. So that is pretty much what it looks like, kind of close up and as an individual example. Here is a video. This is from that Typhoon 1941 on YouTube, and you can find this video out there. This is a Taikai or a Shihan-mato tournament here. And you can see there's people in chairs, there's people in seiza, some are on cushions, some aren't. It's kind of whatever, but pretty close quarters here. They actually shoot at a makiwara. It's like the small portable size of makiwara. It's only like I want to say it's, I think, just 30 centimeters across. It's only like a foot. And then the target is placed where the top is actually kind of centered on it. So I'll actually start this video because it goes for a couple minutes and shows some other interesting things here. Now they're going to pan. You can see all of the people and the small makiwara with the guy there who's behind a protective. He's saying that arrow missed, and that'll be important later on. And then the next arrow comes, which is a hit, and he raises that up. Now he goes and pulls all of the arrows. And then he'll walk back with them and hand them all to the first archer. He'll find his, and then they just pass it on down the line. So this is where, you really only need one. And here's the view from behind. So that was a hit, raises his hand. They always kind of kick off to the upper right. You'll see the fletchings are always kind of up and to the right when they shoot. You'll also notice that there's some markings on their arrows for where they want to stop their draw. In Western recurve tournament archery, there's the clicker and things like that to be very consistent in their draw length. I don't think that would go over well in Kyudo Shinsa to have your arrows marked that way, but Shihan-mato, no biggie. So, and then he'll hand the arrows back and they would start the third arrow. And then here's the scoring thus far. So you can see they're on the third arrow currently. And then the archers, everyone but number 4 missed one of his shots. So that was where he put his hand down, kind of signifying low that was a miss. So that is how they go through that. And then once they get 5 arrows done, then they move up a row to number 1. And it's fairly rare to miss in reality. So, the archer in the 4th position there, he's probably already done with his first arrow. Because it's not that often that you miss on this. It's kind of a little bit like sumo, when the Yokozuna have lost 2 or 3 bouts. It's kind of, well, you might as well claim injury and pull out, because it's pretty rare to come back from missing more than a few shots in a tournament for Shihan-mato. So that's what it ends up looking like. And how has Shihan-mato helped my Kyudo? I feel that my accuracy has gotten much better. I am more kind of focused on the target, because with Shihan-mato, it's kind of what it's all about. It is just hitting the target. And there isn't a lot of more, to it in that. I can hold Kai longer. Like I said, you don't really, hold Kai. You should always be expanding and always going through the draw and pushing and pulling to the point of release through your chest and that. So there isn't really a hold, but it does, I feel more comfortable with that when I'm in Kai. And then I've also found that it's easier to do Seiza. Now, granted, you're normally got some type of padded mat or something like that, but I do find that it is easier for me to be down in Seiza and getting up and things of that nature. So, where to go for more information about Shihan-mato? Like I said, YouTube has several videos out there featuring Shihan-mato, and actually you can find more if you search for the kanji, and I threw those up there. You can normally find a Shihan-mato video that will have the kanji on it, and go ahead and just kind of copy that and put it in your search, and you'll get many more videos if you're interested in looking at more for Shihan-mato. Okay. Any questions? I can open it up here to individuals.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
It's Rosemary.
Okay.
I'm wondering if you know the reason why the arrows are so long and whippy. Is that another instance of maybe reducing the threat of accuracy from when Shihan-mato was first established, or is it something that's come along later? It seems impractical for them to be quite that long, but
it does, and I think it's one of those things. I honestly don't exactly know the answer. My guess is that, like I said, originally the bow and arrow were the same length historically. Even then, it was quite long, but now they've made the bows longer, which makes the arrows I think they just said, well, bow's longer, now the arrows have to be longer. That's the only thing that I can say on that. Outside of that's the way it is. Although I do have to say, with them being this length, they do weigh more than if they were, a shorter arrow. So they do have quite a bit of penetrating power. One of the first draws that I did back in my old house, I didn't exactly have it gripped right, and it did slip out of my hand, and you would be surprised how much that sunk into a concrete or plaster and lath interior wall in my house. It went in probably a good 4 inches. So they do have pretty good penetrating power, actually, even for just a 5 kilogram draw weight.
Thank you.
Tim McMillan has his hand up.
Yep, Tim.
No, I mean, you put the hand up by mistake.
Hi, perhaps I hit the hand up by mistake, but I did have a question.
Okay.
And yeah, so the question was, it looks like at least today, Shihan-mato is largely used for fun and for fun tournaments.
Yep.
Do they also have things like ranks?
Not that I'm aware of. I don't believe there's any, it's very much like, a Western archery in that regard, where, you don't get rank in Western archery or anything like that. It really is just tournament shooting and just kind of for fun and social aspects of it.
Got it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Questions
Jeremy,
from others?
I see that effectively the Yumi is a Hankyu,
Yes.
but it is a specific Hankyu for Shihan-mato. It's not. I mean, it's not effectively what we would think of as a Hankyu, just in general. This was something developed specifically for Shihan-mato, but out of the concept of the Hankyu, or do you have any idea about that?
Well, I have taken, and for this presentation, I originally just kind of took some pictures of my Shihan-Q by itself. And, if you don't have anything to give you a size judgment, it looks like a full-size Yumi. In terms of the scale, the shape is exactly the same, unless you have something also in the frame that gives it away, I don't know, baseboards or a shoe or anything like that. It's really kind of hard to tell that it is so small or so much smaller than a traditional Kyudo Yumi.
Oh yeah. I mean, I guess I wasn't putting my question quite right. It's the Yumi is specifically for Shihan-mato. It's not like you have a Hankyu,
Right.
and then I use a Hankyu for Shihan-mato. It is a Shihan-mato Hankyu, so it's specifically developed for that, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty certain on that.
Oh, okay, yeah. I was wondering, because seeing the initial Yumi that you showed us that you think is a Hankyu, that you're still curious about how it's set up and everything. I mean, that's okay.
Right. Yeah. Any other questions out there?
Where can you get this equipment? You mentioned from like Koyama Kyudo. Anywhere else?
Well, Koyama has it, but they do not ship internationally. So you have to find someone that is, in Japan to get it for you and to ship it to you. I happen to get in touch with Miyakawa Kyugu in Niigata, which is where Carly Sensei was. That was their place where they got equipment when they lived in Niigata. And they actually got in touch, I believe, just contacted Koyama and bought it from them, and then they shipped it off to me. The current price, I should have mentioned this earlier. Right now, it's about 54,000 yen for a bow and the arrows, which with today's exchange rate and even with shipping is, should be less than $500. When I bought my set, like I said, a few years ago when the exchange rate wasn't anywhere near as good as it is now, it was, probably $650. But so that's how or where I found it is at Koyama. And that's about the only, I mean, I'm sure there are other Japanese Kyudo equipment people that have it, but I'm not fluent in navigating Japanese web pages.
Hey Barry, any idea how popular Shihan-mato Kyudo is in Japan?
Well, Jess Garrity says that it's even kind of hard to find a place to practice there. It's not something that's done, there aren't like dojos or anything like that. It is normally done in like community centers and things like that, various groups. So it is popular. I mean, there's Shihan-mato, and you can find Shihan-kyu, like they call it dojos, but almost like just storefronts in Japan, where you can go in and just sit down. I'm not even sure if it's like a standard, the proper distance or anything like that, but again, you can kind of rent some equipment for a short period of time and do some hankyu. So I don't actually have like a number of practitioners or anything like that, again, because there isn't any ranking that I'm aware of, so there isn't as much I don't know, paperwork or trail of membership or people that do it.
In the chat, Hunter and Samuel added websites, information on two places that sell them, Sambu and Koyama Kibu, that Barry had mentioned. Ray's asking, what's the distance to the target?
Officially, it's 8.2 meters, but I think that gets kind of fudged every now and then because I've seen, like I said, more videos where they're doing it in what looks like to be a classroom, and they're just kind of going back as far as they can, and they've got the makiwara right up against the wall, and I guess if everyone is shooting the same distance, it's not like they're breaking out a tape measure. They're just kind of figuring out that this is what we'll use for today based on what we've got to work with.
Question on the bows: are they actually set up iriki or deki or just straight?
Mine actually is. It is offset to the right, just like a Yumi. Like I said, they say there are left-handed bows out there, but online I haven't found a way to specify anything different. And if you look at that the video where we had the tournament with all of them, they were all shooting it right-handed, although I had seen other ones where you can there is one person that's left-handed and he's back to back with the right-handed archer behind him. So
okay. There was a question early on during your talk when you were first showing your Yumi, it was, could this be a palanquin Yumi? Something that would be shot from a very small enclosure. I guess you don't know, but
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. Like I said, the most knowledgeable person that I thought that would know would be Don Szymanski, since he is a Yumi maker here in the States. And he was, couldn't figure out what it could have been. His best thought was, a shrine bow, but then he said, but that couldn't be it because they wouldn't have any draw weight or anything like that. So no one really knows. It is a mystery. I do have to say now that if I was to find it for sale, I actually probably wouldn't buy it, just because it is this kind of weird, well, what is it? No one really knows. It's definitely a Hankyu of some sort, or a close quarters bow, indoor close quarters bow. But yeah, that's no one really knows.
okay, sounds like that's it for the questions. I would like to thank Barry for his very interesting presentation and for letting us have it recorded. And I would like to thank everyone who joined live for your presence and for your interesting Q&A during the end of this session. And Barry, when you finish the recording, please send the link to Carly Sensei, and she will share it with the rest of the AKR. And it'll be on the AKR's YouTube channel, so anyone can take a look at it.
All right.
So thanks again. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Lots of thanks coming into the chat. So thanks, Barry. Good job.
Very welcome. I hope I have inspired people to, they've got some extra money that they don't know what to do with, to give it a shot just for fun.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Barry.
I love that long arrow.
I'm gonna close the meeting.
All right, we're closing the meeting. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye now.